Well, good afternoon, everybody. So, I've been working for CBC since 2002, and I've been working in the department which was initially called the New Broadcast Technology Group, and with the reorganization, now we've moved into the architecture and strategic development, but my mandate still remains the same since the beginning. So in our department, we have to evaluate equipmental technologies. We participate into developing international standards for the organization. So the first time I was involved in assisting for developing acquisition specifications was back in 2008 when we wrote some specifications for HD. HD material. So it's a long time ago. And so what I thought the project was finished when we issued the document, but then I realized it's a never-ending story because afterwards we were asked to produce some program specifications, commercial specifications, file delivery specs. Then for the radio, we had to deliver commercial delivery specifications. So so as you can see on the picture here, you see the two headquarters. The English headquarters in Toronto for CBC and in Montreal, the Radio-Canada, the Montreal headquarters in Montreal for Radio-Canada. And when I was hired, the goal of our department was always to unify the requirements for the various services. So for me, it's a bit awkward to have to talk about a file-based delivery specs when my mandate, since I was hired, was the total opposite. So the goal of the working group that we've put in together was always to come up with one set of specifications for the whole corporation. We're still talking about audio and video, shouldn't be different that much. So that doesn't mean that I won't be able to talk about problems related to lack of standardizations. Don't worry, I have full of examples. So to come up with these specifications, it involves a lot of work and a lot of discussions. So basically, we had to harmonize the requirements from the CBC, from Radio-Canada. And we've always been seeking for open standards and recognized organizations. So when we specify parameters, we seek first for SMPTE, open standards or recommendations. And when the standard is not available within the SMPTE North American standards, well, we turn around and see, hey, does EBU have some recognized standards we could use? A quick example, loudness standard. In North America, you specify the loudness, the true peak, but not the loudness range. The loudness range, you have it with the EBU. So that is sort of the situation we're dealing with. So back in 2012, so the first revision was the HD, then in 2012 we were asked to add the file delivery specifications. I did not do the whole research for file delivery. It was a colleague, which is a well-known person, Michel Poulain. He did a really good work about that. And shortly after that, he retired. And so through the years, well, the months afterwards, I was hearing complaints. It doesn't work. Your specifications are too vague. There are too many options. In Avid, you cannot ingest import files. So I'm like, well, I'm sure Michel did some good work. So I took it really personally because we do get involved and we spend several months preparing these standards. So I took back the document, and it is true that we did not come down to one exchange format. We accepted, okay, the MXF wrapper, which is for us the preferred container. It's opened, and then after that, because of all the US studios, we're stuck with QuickTime. And if we take the video encoding resolution, our preferred format was XDCAM. But then after that, we were stuck with Apple ProRes for the Disney of this world. And we are an Avid shop, so we accepted the Avid format. So talking with people and going around, I tried to find, okay, so why do we have so much problems? So I started learning about like MXF, that it's an open standard, but it might be, there are many options. So at a level I didn't imagine. So here, will the slides be distributed afterwards? Yes? Yes, okay, because it's too small, maybe people cannot read. But basically, starting realizing that like you had several options to carry the closed caption. Then after that, for for the time code, the same thing. You could either include a time code track or like specify sort of a counter that tells you, okay, what's your time code. So for us, it led to some problems. So if you take the image on the left, we had a situation where, okay, we had a file that had passed the initial QC, everything seemed fine, went into editing, and then after that went out for on-air distribution. But then for various reasons, like, I don't know, you had to reduce the duration or insert some content, the content had to go back to being edited. Well, the problem we had was that, like, okay, the file doesn't go into the Avid ingesting system anymore. And we had some, like, we don't see it really well, but, like, the message is really vague. You cannot import this file. Hey, oh yeah, cool, but what's the problem now? Then after that, exception, XDCAM, and then you have that long sentence. So where's the problem now? Is it the closed caption? Is it the timecode, which is not at the correct place? It's like quite a puzzle. So we started looking around. As usual, what are the open standards? What's being done in the community? And it became clear to me that, okay, not for QuickTime and ProRes, because that's a closed a proprietary system. So that always works as long as you stay in that environment. But since we wanted to push a lot MXF, which is an open standard, I said, okay, we have to constrain the OP1A wrapper. So we looked at the British, and it's approximately at that time that they came out with the constraints on the, okay, maybe we haven't talked a little bit about that. There's an organization which is called Advanced Media Workflow Association, AMWA, which comes up with some recommendation on how to constrain MXF to facilitate, in a way to solve the problem of the fact that MXF is too wide. So it constrains the format so you're sure your content will be delivered correctly. And so the UK, the UK people, DPP, that's exactly what they use. So through that document, through AS11, DPP constrained the MXF standard, and it seemed to work. So I'm like, okay, let's use it. That's great. Yeah, great, but always the same thing. In UK, we're at 50 hertz. In North America, we're at 60 hertz. So right from the start, we couldn't use AS11. Then after that, the video coding format, they're using AVC Intra. Here in North America, we're either using XDCAM XD or Avid. And so there are probably other elements. So the question was, like, for us at CBC, would it be possible to have, they call it a shim when you constrain like that, the MXF. So we were like, okay, would it be possible to define like a shim based on North American requirements? So the goal would be, if you comply with that shim, well then, if you exchange format between two equipment or two organizations, at least be able to see video and hear audio. We're not asking for for so much. It's really basic stuff. So the solution was to work with the North American community. So I've talked about, okay, trying to through AMWA, trying to constrain MXF wrapper, and it's at the approximately same time there was the NABA initiative Richard was talking about that started. So while waiting for the community to work, because you know, like the work doesn't get done overnight, okay, what we did was to reopen our specs and manually constrain the MXF wrapper. And so It has worked pretty well, but the document is like 30 page, so it's still it's quite a good document. So how is it the complaint from the people in our organization decreases? If we take the big production houses, they usually comply with our specs, because don't forget that we accept the 3 formats. So with that, we cover the big formats. And in big production house or the organizations, they know the standards. They usually have the QC equipment. They usually have a variety of equipment so they can give you what you want. We struggle more with small independent producers because, like, often they're less technical. They have to do everything. They cannot be experts in everything. They usually have one system and they don't. So really, the current situation is more of when you deliver for the first time the content where we struggle more. And then, well, when you have all archival material, well, you just have to do with what you have. You cannot do anything. The other element, which is sort of complicated for us, is quality control. A few years ago, we evaluated some QC software tools, and I was really jealous because there was this item, ASDPP check, so they could pass that test and with like one profile say, hey, your file is compliant, go, you're fine. Then try to do that with our specifications. Well, we had to take several tools to do the exact same thing as what this other equipment was doing. So it's at the QC level that it's more cumbersome, it's more complicated. So you see here a graph that shows like the amount of files that we've received. So we don't receive that much content as HBO. We're more into like 4,000 for each medias. The same, I don't have a graph for CBC, but it's approximately the same that for Radio-Canada. So as part of the NABA work that was started a few years ago, each broadcaster was asked to write some user stories. So I've already explained to you what was the problem with the time code. The other problem that we had, which is really like annoying, is the wrapping and unwrapping of media content. And so the problem that we have is that from one equipment to another equipment, sometimes it becomes, you have interoperability problems. So this is an element that we would like to be solved with that whole standardizations. Then after that, there's also a problem when we transport closed captions. Some applications cannot carry it. Others, as you've seen, don't insert it at the same time. It's always the same thing. It's simple. It's closed caption, but since it's not carried like in one fashion, you get into interrupt problems. Then after that, the other one, which is equipment upgrade. so we do not want like an equipment, if it's upgraded, that then it becomes that we're not capable of sending or receiving files. And then afterwards, the last element is the metadata. So I want to receive a file which is rich with rich descriptive metadata, and allow this metadata to travel with the media itself, not necessarily separately, so that each broadcast system in the chain are aware and can act accordingly. So that's another topic, metadata. We need to standardize the parameter designation, then standardize what it means, then where it's located. So then after that, the last element is the UHD. So with SD, it's too late. With HD, we can try to standardize as much as we can, but people won't like build over their plan just to become compatible with the exchange format. But with UHD, there's a momentum right now. You don't have delivery specifications. The equipment are barely being available on the market. And there are some discussions to come up with unified specs between North America, DPP, and EBU. So that would be really awesome if we could achieve that as a broadcast community. So then my conclusion, what is our goal? So as you've seen, our goal is to keep it simple, to have one unified format and try to avoid as much as possible complex workflows. And thank you.
That's good.